Hey guys, Wyatt Graves here, your host of the Mint Tea Podcast, and I am extremely excited to share this conversation with y'all today. I know that I am usually always excited to share conversations with y'all, but today is a little special. It's special because this is a conversation with a friend of mine, Dirk, who is the founder and owner of a 6,000-acre ranch in Amarillo, Texas. And he facilitated an event that I planned with him just a few weeks ago, where I personally went and experienced a literal and physical and metaphorical breakthrough. I couldn't wait to get back to the studio and have him on the show so that we could recapture and replay the experience that I was able to have at his ranch. It was a magnificent, magical, spiritual experience. I've shared it with many of the people in our mastermind communities in person, and this is my opportunity to share it with all of y'all across the world on what it means to tap into and to know your calling, and also what it means to fully surrender. It is a very rich and meaningful conversation in many, many ways. And one of the reasons that it is so special is because it influenced the articulation of my mission. You see, at the beginning of this season of the Mint Tea Podcast, back on February 3rd, 2025, I relaunched the show after having been put on a shelf for many months, maybe over a year, because I was unclear on how to tell the world, how to tell you and everybody else who I am and what I'm doing. And I've been on this journey to find clarity and to articulate my mission and my calling and my vision for not only this show, but for my life and how it works and fits within my business and my desire to be a great dad and a great husband. And as I have been working through that articulation and that clarity, I thought I had found clarity. And then I went to Dirk's ranch. And it was at his ranch, through the facilitation of epic adventures, that clarity was found. And so from this show and episode forward, I've got a brand new intro and outro and culmination of my vision and my calling that I get to share with the world so that I can tell the world what I am doing, why I'm doing it, and then have the world, have the universe, have God line up the right people, the right resources to make it happen. See, I do believe that when you find your calling and you make a proclamation to God and to those around you of what exactly it is, that God and others will conspire to make it happen. And for me, this experience, this episode will recall that experience so that you all will have clarity around what it is that I'm after. And I think that's so important because what I'm after is really to help you get after what you're after. And the more I can articulate that, the better I can articulate that, the more impactful I can become. So with that being said, I invite you to sit back and enjoy my conversation with my good friend, Dirk. Dirk, man, I am so excited to have you on my show today. I have wanted to have you on the show for a long time, but then once we had our experience at your MERUS Adventure Park, I knew for sure that I needed to accelerate that time frame and collapse it rather and have you on the show so that we could talk about my experience at your park and your journey and just bring this conversation to the public. So, dude, thank you so much for signing up to say yes to come on the show today.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Wyatt. And I'm really excited about this conversation. This is a significant conversation. And ever since we had the retreat here at MERUS, I've been excited for this podcast and really just downloading and talking about the whole experience. And so excited to jump in.
For sure. I think, as I've planned the agenda and sort of the things that I want to talk about, I was thinking about words that describe what I think will come out of the conversation. And dense and rich are two of the words that keep coming to mind. I think we have such, just to be transparent with you and with our audience, I was tempted to say we have a lot to unpack. We have a lot to talk about, but really as I thought about it, it's really not a lot. It's just really rich. It's really dense. So we could probably say it in a few words, but have such a very impactful message within the words that we use. So I'm just really excited to just really jump in. So to get things started, you shared with me your story of how you got to where you are. It's pretty profound. It's pretty awesome. And I know that it's inspirational for me. So can you share that with me publicly so that my listeners can get a glimpse of just who it is that we're getting to talk with today on the show?
Yeah, I'll. There's been a lot of turns in the story, so I'll try to give you the short version here. But I think it starts with I'm an immigrant from South Africa, and my family immigrated to Texas when I was 14 years old. So I went from a big culture shift, different country, small West Texas town of Kroll, Texas, where I went to high school. Had 26 kids in my class. That was a big culture shock. And after that, I ended up in Amarillo, Texas, and went to West Texas A&M. College was never really my thing, and I always wanted to get into business. So I got actually into the ski and snowboard industry. And I did that for most of my 20s. From about 21 years old, I actually owned a business that I was owner financed on. And that business failed when I was 28. And then I'd gotten married, before that business failed. We had our child right before that business failed. And so I really started off my marriage in a massive financial, hole. And the first 5 years of our marriage and having our son during that time was really just a very, very challenging time for my wife and I, just trying to fight through the debt and trying to hold on to our house, working 6-7 days a week, long hours, spending very little time at home with our young family. And the good thing is that brought me to a point where I just, understood that something had to change, but I was around 31 years old at that time, right? So I feel like that's really where my life started having purpose, or maybe my purpose became more clear to me, and I started leaning into it, learning, and just realizing that there's so much information out there. There's so much knowledge and wisdom to be had. However, you have to be on the path of really seeking it. And that's where I think my story really started changing, of climbing out of debt, changing the situation that we're in as a family. And, I was in real estate kind of during that time. We left Amarillo, went to Houston. I ran some Keller Williams offices, one in Houston, one in Maryland. And in 2017, I started my company, Bergflow, after, I had, fairly good success, with some real estate teams and running large brokerages. But I knew my calling was in working with small businesses. And a few years later, I worked with GoAbundance. I was the interim CEO for GoAbundance for a few years, launched another company that I was able to sell a couple of years later. And, then just kind of felt like God called me to open an outdoor adventure park. So I started working on that in 2020 and opened that business in 2021. And, fast forward 4 years, we have a couple other businesses now also. But the majority of the work that I do is working with, entrepreneurs, business owners. And I think the deep thing, and I know we're going to get into this, and so I'm, really excited about that part of this conversation. But I think the deeper thing is helping people get on a path to find their calling and find clarity around what that looks like. Essentially, I think is one of the big things that I feel I've been called to, right? The field that I work with service-based companies to help them grow and scale. But in that, helping people get really down to what I would say the essence is of, what their identity is. And, and I know that word came up a lot during, our retreat here. So I'm excited to maybe talk about that word a little bit as well. And then once you discover that, how do you actually put the framework and the structure and the path kind of in front of you to start moving towards like making that calling a reality and walking that out? So, that's really been kind of the short version of some things that I've done. And, I've been married now for 18 years, together with my wife for 23 years. Our son's 16 now. We've got an 11-year-old daughter as well. Family is extremely important to me. And, one of the things that I just love doing is, spending time with my family, spending close time with the people that we do business with. Business is today a very intimate thing for me. Very much relational business versus for a long time in my life, it was very transactional. And that really started changing in 2017. So, there's just been some shifts in my identity about who I am, how I do business, how I approach things. And that's what's brought me to this point.
I love it, man. Just to kind of close the loop on a few things. Because you shared this with us on the trip. So you come out of the business that failed, mm-hmm. and you started selling real estate, and that was at the height of the recession, right? In like 2008, 2009, 2010, somewhere's in that window.
Yeah, I actually worked for an auction company in 2008 and 9 after my shop failed, but then I started with Prudential. They had an affiliate kind of in Amarillo, and I started there. So 2010, I got into real estate, and I kind of struggled for a couple of years, like 2010, 11, and then it was towards the end of 2012 that I joined Keller Williams during that time, and this was like probably 4 years into just going through this like financial hell with my family. Almost losing my family during that time, almost losing our house during that time. I mean, it was a really long, hard place that didn't feel like there was a lot of hope. And so I think, part of that was I got to the point where my ego had to submit, right? There was nothing left for me to try to have ego about. So when I really was just ready to change my life, and again, this was like 31 years old, if somebody said, hey, do this, I would go do that like 2x or 3x. Whatever I was told to do, I just did it as much as I could. And success came very quickly after just submitting my ego and just saying like, hey, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If there's a model to follow, I'll do the model, whatever it takes to move things forward. But yeah, that was during that time.
That's what I wanted to just clarify. And you kind of made it seem not so sexy. And I want to make sure that we talk about like you have succeeded. You overcame that financial hell, right? Like yes, you were the CEO of GoBundance, but GoBundance is a tribe of healthy, wealthy men. And you were the leader of this tribe. You were being mentored by the founders of this tribe, right? Like you did the work, followed the model, and things started clicking, and you have turned those things around in a big, big way. I wanted to make sure we sort of closed that loop.
Yeah, my life looks very, very different today than what it did 10 years ago.
Just 10 years ago. That's also really magnificent, right? Just 10 years ago, it's just really different. And to set the stage for what we're going to talk about at this event, I don't know that I shared this with you, but you have MERUS Adventure Park, and I want to talk about just how extraordinary that park is and just how magnificent, and just the magnitude of it to me was just really breathtaking, as I'm sure it is for most people. But we had an event, part of GoBundance. We scheduled or created a regional event for the guys to go there and really have, it turned into a thinking retreat is the way that I like to describe it. There was no stage. There was no PowerPoint. There was no presentation. It was just guys getting around a fire and experiencing God and nature and the ambiance and the environment of this 6,000 acre park, right? Part of the Palo Duro Canyon. when we arrived on site, of course, I'm intentional. I'm always thinking, I'm always looking for metaphors and just looking at just what is God telling me through relationships, conversations, thoughts. And you brought us to this point or this peak. I don't really know how to describe it, but you pulled up first. I was in the Jeep behind your Jeep. And so you got out and you walked to the edge of this cliff. And so my perspective is that I get to see the 6,000 acre park beyond, but I get to look through you. So like I'm looking through the backside of you against this park. And for me, it was just really metaphoric in terms of like, this one dude owns this. Like, this is so powerful. So it's like so small and so big in the juxtaposition, right? Like this one guy through a calling, through determination, through grit, through resilience, was able to manifest and attract such a grand opportunity. It was really, really special and just magnificent scene that is imprinted in my mind of just what can happen when we are aligned and we are clear and how much opportunity exists. And all we have to do is just kind of get aligned and get clear and then do the work, right? So it was really awesome. So with that being said, tell us more about that park and how that park came to be.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of a backstory here. So I kind of went on this journey, and we were in Houston, and then we were in Maryland, and then we went back to Houston. So for quite a few years now, we had been living kind of in these big metro areas, and really my wife and I are both like, I'd say we're kind of like country folk, right? Like we kind of grew up in the country. We love country things. We love land. And just being outdoors in nature. And so it had been quite a few years now that we've really been in the city a lot, right? And that doesn't mean we didn't travel and things like that, but I mean, a lot of it was kind of based in the city. So about mid-2019, towards the end of 2019, I just felt God say, hey, get your kids outdoors more. And so my first vehicle ever was an old Jeep CJ5 in high school, and I'd owned two more after that. But I hadn't owned a Jeep in quite a few years, and so I was like, okay, get the kids outdoors. So I was talking to my wife. I was like, let's buy a Jeep again. So we bought a Jeep and started watching just like videos about like overlanding and things like that, and how can we use the Jeep to go see some really cool things and do a lot of camping, out of the Jeep type stuff. So we started getting that going in the end of 2019, and then we made the decision we're like going to start homeschooling our kids starting January of 2020. And again, just kind of felt like, hey, we need to take our companies virtual. So by January 1, 2020, we had this Jeep built out that was ready to go, just on epic, adventures. We took our company about 75% virtual at that time, and we started homeschooling. So that's how we started January of 2020. Well, obviously March of 2020, COVID hits, everything goes on lockdown, and we were fully prepared already. We didn't have to make any adjustments to what we were doing. Everything was really lined up for us to do some epic things. And so, when everybody was kind of shut down, isolating, we started going to some of those beautiful places in America and just spending amazing time with our kids outdoors. And during that time too, a lot of my clients, because I work with entrepreneurs and business owners, and I was still, consulting and training and coaching, virtually during that time. And they're like, all our trips got canceled. Like, what are we going to do? And I was like, hey, I just bought a Jeep. Why don't you buy an off-road vehicle and, look up overlanding and build your rig out, and let's put trips together where we just meet at like amazing places. So we started doing that. And kind of during that time, it was probably around May or June of that year. We were down on the Llano River in the Texas Hill Country. We were at this like hole in the wall little RV park called Dos Rios, right? And it was about 11 o'clock at night. Kids were already, Kristen and the kids were in sleep in the cabin, and I just went for a swim, and got out of the river, and I'm sitting around a campfire. And I just felt like God tell me it's time to open the park. And it's really one of like the times that, it was like almost audible, which it's like you don't really hear it, but you hear it with everything within you, right? So, and this goes back to something that I had really dreamed about in 2011 and 2012, back when we were in Amarillo and I was just broke. And I mean, we didn't take a vacation. We didn't like leave town for like 4 years. Like we didn't even have the money to go do anything, right? So, but I had a park pass for a state park called Palo Canyon State Park, and I used to go there and go mountain biking and hiking and camping and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, it'd be cool to have a privatized version of this. So I even chose the name MERUS Adventure back then in 2012, and even had a little logo put together, and I ran some performers and everything. But that project never went anywhere, right? So when we left the area in 2014. I just never thought about it again. It's like one of these dreams that kind of went to the back pocket, and it just stayed back there. So now we're fast forward. It's 2020, and I felt like God said, like, it's time to open the park, right? So and immediately that whole dream kind of came back to the forefront. And during that time, I was still the CEO of Go Abundance. And I remember, as soon as like the next day on the drive back to Houston, I told my wife, I think I want to buy a ranch and do this thing, and she's like, oh, okay. And, during the time we were about to move to Austin too. And it's like she loves the hill country. She wanted to buy a beautiful home there. And like, I wanted to support her in that way. And, but I told her this, as soon as I got back, I told the elders of Go Abundance, like, hey, I'm going to buy a ranch and open an outdoor adventure park. And they were kind of like, okay. And I told about other business partners. I just, like, everybody I encountered, I just immediately started speaking about like this thing, right? I had no clue how I was going to do it, what needed to happen, like all this, but I just knew, like, I felt a calling, and I knew that I just started talking about it from day one to everybody. There was no kind of like saying it in an apologetic way or anything like that. It's just like, I'm going to do this thing because I've been called to do this thing, and just really stepping out in faith to do that. So we started, I started looking for a ranch. I started just trying to figure out, like, how do I put a deal like this together even, and started meeting with people. And this has been the first deal that I'd ever, like, taken a really big swing at, right? Because it was a big deal for me. And literally just like every step of the way, I felt like God put the right people in my life to coach me, to mentor me, to guide me. We ended up finding a ranch. I mean, obviously you've been here, and I tell people, like, I own one of the most beautiful pieces of land in the state of Texas. And if you don't believe me, come here and see for yourself. But just the way that whole thing came together, how we found the land, how we put the deal together, how we were able to finance it and bring everything, like every step of the way was never forced. That doesn't mean that it wasn't scary. It doesn't mean that it wasn't nerve-wracking, that there wasn't, sleepless nights over the thing, but like nothing felt forced, right? But it was definitely, I was stretched in a really big way as an entrepreneur and as a business owner trying to put this thing together. And we ended up closing on the land March of 2021, and we opened in a very, very primitive way by May of 2021. And so we just kind of finished up our 4-year anniversary of opening this business. But the whole thing was, it wasn't about me owning land. It was about building a place where people can come and be in just an absolutely stunning environment, in a place that's family friendly, in a place where you can connect with yourself. You can discover something new about yourself. You can connect with other people. You can connect with nature. You can connect with God. Like it's really about just a place where you can have a ton of fun, lots of adventure, beautiful place, but it's a place where you walk away transformed in some form or fashion. Like that truly is at the deepest level what this place is. And, over the last 4 years, we've had people from all over America that have started coming here. We've got people now that are driving 12, 14, 16 hours one way to come here as a destination location, which just blows me away. And we're able to now start hosting really cool retreats like the one that we put together, for Go Abundance. And we're truly, like, based on the conversations you have and based on, not necessarily being on your phone or being on your laptop or looking at a PowerPoint presentation or reading spreadsheets or anything, but just like curating really meaningful, deep conversations in an absolutely stunning environment, and then interjecting fun and adventure into that, and what that does over the course of 3-4 days, and so it's just been something that's been like very, very meaningful, and it's been a cool project, but it really is, like, I feel like I'm a steward of the land and a steward of the project, and that's the way that I view it.
I love it, man. It's a beautiful story, and it makes the park and the experience that much more. I mean, it's really hard to find words. You articulated so many of the great words, right? Connect with yourself, connect with others, connect with God, while having fun, having an adventure, and then leaving transformed. It's really special. It's really spiritual. It's sacred. It's sacred ground. From a really tactical standpoint, it's 6,000 acres. It's a part of the Palo Duro Canyon in Claude, Texas. It's 9 square miles. And then you probably can do a better job of describing some of the adventures, but there's caving. And we're going to talk about my experience in the cave in just a minute. But even saying the word caving, it just doesn't pack the punch that caving is. Hiking by moonlight is like hiking trails, but then there's also the Jeep trails. So it's not ATVs, it's not side-by-sides, it's Jeeps, right? That and then they have, which this was new to me, but you have the slopes that are, I say slopes because I'm going to describe them like the slopes in a mountain. Green, blue, black, and double black or black diamond in terms of the degree of risk and fear factor. Talk just a little bit more about that from a tactical standpoint, and then we'll get moving on to the next part.
Yeah. So, one of the things that that I think this whole park is about is, I talked about the core of the meaning and the purpose of the park, but we really built this place to be an incredible place to have fun and adventure, right? And because I do believe that when you actually have fun and adventure with people, like, you bond with people. And again, I'm going to go off just on a quick tangent here, but like the same thing, like, think about your relationship with either your spouse or your children, right? And when do you grow close with them? It's when you're laughing with them. It's when you're having fun. It's when you're having new experiences. It's when you're doing that scary thing and then you laugh about it afterwards, right? It's like, that's where such incredible bonding happens, and especially in a beautiful location. So that's kind of the premise of this. But like, creating these adventures is really what facilitates a lot of this. So we're kind of an overlanding and off-road park, but we do only full-size vehicles, right? So we're not like go as fast as you can and do crazy things type park. We're kind of like low noise, slow speed. We do have very challenging trails, and you got to go on some of them. But the whole premise is about, like, get out and go do some really fun things in a vehicle, like hit some really fun trails, go on some incredible hikes, and we've got 7 or 8 like really great hikes. You got to experience the Boulderfield hike at night with moonlight, which is really a special experience. We've got the caving. We've got about 5 caves here. One is kind of anybody can go through. We call it the big cave. The other caves is a guided experience only, and you can certainly, why, right? Because they get very tight.
Oh, yeah.
And, everything's very dark. Everything's very jagged in there. I mean, it's really like a special experience. And then we also have mountain biking as well. So we've got 12 cabins out here. We've got a full hookup RV park. It's got over 100 primitive campsites, on the rim and throughout the canyon. So it's just a really cool place to come and have some fun and adventure with your friends, with your family, and that's what we do here.
Love it. Hey guys, if you've been a listener of my show for any length of time, you know that I attribute a lot of my growth to learning from the guys inside of GoBundance. If you think that GoBundance is a tribe that you might be interested in joining, then reach out to me. Go to WyattGraves.com, connect with me. I'll reach out personally with you and answer any questions about GoBundance to see if it's the right fit for you. All right, so let's talk about my experience. Just to set the record straight for a lot of folks, like I've been to, I think it's Rock City or something like that in Tennessee with family vacations. I've been to I've been on hikes. I've been on mountains. I've been on suspended bridges, and my palms are sweating right now just saying and talking about those kinds of experiences. My wife, my kids, they kind of make fun of me. We've been to Arkansas. We've tried to jump off of ledges and zip line, and it just freaks me all out, right? But I never thought for a second when we talked about the word caving. That's what I'm saying, right? We just say the word caving. It's like no big deal. But when we went to the first cave, okay, we made it through. That must have been the big cave. It really wasn't that big of a deal. It was fine. We made it through. It never crossed my mind that it would be worse than that. So then we go to the second cave, and we have to turn sideways to get through some of those cracks and crevices. And there were 8 of us. I was at the end of the line. So I was, I think, number 7. Kevin was behind me on that one. And you guys get turned around, and wherever you are, you're stuck. And so y'all are having to navigate whatever is up ahead, but the crevice is so tight that I can't see around the curve, around the turn to see what y'all are doing. And so I don't know, it could have just been 3 minutes, but it felt like 30. And my anxiety starts raising, and I'm thinking, I just don't even know what they're doing. And I'm already kind of feeling claustrophobic, and Kevin's behind me, and he's kind of feeling claustrophobic, and it just made it for a really easy out. You know what, guys? I can't see what we're doing. We're just going to go out the back way. Dude, I felt so disappointed, obviously, but I was telling myself in my head, like, it's fine. Like, I can get over it. I can overpower this letdown and this disappointment. I can power through it, and it'll be fine, and I'll just let it go. And I did, right? So y'all went through the cave, made it out to the other side. Kevin and I met you on the other side. And then we go into cave number 3. And you didn't tell us about the end of cave number 3. And we get to the end, which I thought was the end. And I thought, okay, well, cool. Now, this is after we've climbed up, we've jumped down, we've went sideways. We have faced a bat hanging out on the ledge of this little thing that was, I don't know, 6 inches from my face. The spiders, the black widows, like whatever. I'm powering through. And then
for context, like these aren't like commercialized caves, right? It's not like thousands of people go through these caves. Like these are very extremely primitive caves. Like we were probably some of the first humans that have ever gone through these caves, because nobody even knew that these caves existed on the ranch, right? So it's danger everywhere. So yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was going through my mind. These haven't been inspected. These walls could shift. In fact, I think there was this huge boulder. You said, oh, this wasn't here the last time I came here. And
they shift all the time. Yeah. From rain and everything. It's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. So nonetheless, okay, great. We've made it to the end. So we're going to go back out the way that we came in. And everybody kind of piles in, and it's dark, especially if you don't have on your flashlights. There's no natural light. You sit on one side across from me. I'm sitting on the other side, and we've already straddled this little crevice that's in the floor of the cave, and I can see deep into the crevice, but I'm, got my left foot on one side, the right foot on the other, and I'm, I don't know, catwalking across this thing or whatever it's called. But nonetheless, we get to the end, and you say, okay, this is how we're going to navigate this next piece. I'm like, I don't see the next piece. I don't see where we're about to go. Nonetheless, you say, we're going to drop down in this crack, and we're going to shimmy down to the ground and then crawl like a worm through this little hole and make it to the other side. Now, to make sure that we tell the story the right way, I had told you that if I'm going to make it through this next cave, I can't be number 7. I've got to be right behind you so that I can see what we're about to have to navigate, so that I can figure out how to make it through. So you drop down in the crevice and start going through there. And I try it. I freak out. I can't do it. Like, I try to drop below this How deep is the crevice? It's like 7 foot. I mean, it's taller than it's over my head.
It's probably maybe 7.5, maybe 8 foot deep. So like
And
when you drop it.
How wide? Like, if I inhale, my chest touches the front piece of the rock and my shoulder blades are touching the back. It's like,
yeah. I mean, it's like you're touching on both sides, right? So I mean, like I would say this thing is like 18, 16, 18 inches. Like,
and 8 foot deep.
And it has kind of an S wave in it also, so it's
exactly. So, man, I try it. I said, you know what? Somebody else has got to go. I done forgot how Dirk navigated this thing. I can't figure out how to turn over. I'm not doing it. So then I guess that was Jeff that goes.
Jeff went, yeah.
So Jeff goes, and I tried again. And dude, I've told the story 1,000 times. Like, I could see myself. You know how there's like there's the you, and then there's the observer of you. So I'm going through in my head. I hear myself teaching all the things I teach other people, right? Like, it's my head, it's my fear. This is not real. I can't believe I'm chickening out. Like, just do it. And I cannot overcome it. I can't overcome it. So I get back out of the crack without ever even going fully in the crack. Like, I don't even let my upper body go below the surface. So then Scriven goes. And so Scriven is smaller than me and much more fit to get through these little cracks and crevices. And that sucker gets stuck. I see him get stuck, hung up, and not be able to wiggle through this little crack. And then he gets to the other side, and I hear him say, yeah, I got stuck, but I didn't want to say it because I knew Wyatt was watching. So that certainly didn't help. And I said, you know what? I've got to just do it one more time. I've got to try. And I don't know, it felt like 30 minutes. There were 3 other guys on the other side of me. They weren't going to let me out. And look, we had already went through a pretty extenuating cave experience. So to go out wasn't exactly easy either. So I'm kind of forced to either go out the hard way or go out the harder way. They're both hard. Plus there was the bat, plus there was the Black Widow, plus it would have been by myself. So I will never forget this. I go to lower my body in that crack, and I took one last deep breath. And when I took that last deep breath, something happened. Now, you were on the other side, just for the context of the story and the metaphor of life, right? You were saying, I don't even know what you were saying now. You were saying something over and over again, like, slow, go slow, right? Don't get in a hurry. And then Blake was saying, just move, just keep moving, just move, right? Just move. And you were saying, don't get in a hurry. And together, those words let me just kind of relax. And so I took that last deep breath. And when I exhaled and let that last breath out, like my body became limp, like it just sort of, I don't know, the tension went away. And then what is so fascinating from a spiritual standpoint is that I cannot tell you what that tunnel, I don't even know if it's a tunnel, but I can't tell you what it looked like. The next thing I remember is being on the other side of that tunnel or that hole. And you gave me a hug, we fist bumped, and like, there was just this, I don't know, it was just crazy high, but I cannot remember the experience of going through the tunnel. I have shared that story with Ron Patulski, my coach. I think you know Ron. And man, the words that he gave me, which I love, he said, Wyatt, could it be that you had to surrender to the ego, to your mind? And I think that those words mean so much to me because it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And how beautiful of a metaphor and an experience was it to go through to propel me into the next season of my life, right? Mm-hmm. Because what you and I didn't share on this call yet is at the top of the mastermind, we all got to share what it was we're working on. What are the bottlenecks that we're facing? What are we trying to unlock? And I had shared my goals, and I had shared the size of my business that I wanted to build, right? And I led in that conversation with wanting to become a billionaire. And I'm on the verge of a breakthrough. So this experience of going through this little tunnel became the breakthrough, literally and physically, that I think I needed for us to be able to have the conversation post experience that really led to some clarity, extreme clarity, and some breakthroughs with my own mission and the breakthroughs that I'm seeking in my business. I just want to pause a little bit and get your side of the story so that you can share from your experience what happened in that hole, that little cavity that we crawled through, and then we'll talk about the post.
I'm pretty sure I have a bad video of the whole thing, but the audio is probably good. So I was just thinking, I was like, I need to send you that video so that you can relive it. Because, yeah, I mean, like, I think your adrenaline was pumping so high that cognitively it was hard to keep up with like the intensity of the experience, right? But as you drop down, right? Because obviously I went back and forth a couple of times. I went through, and then I went, try to get you to come through that first time. You decided to back off. Jeff came through, so I had to kind of go to the end because there's no way you can pass somebody. So I had to go all the way to the end. Jeff comes through. I go back. You come back in. You pop back out. Scriven comes through. So I'm now going back. Scriven comes and then I went back a third time. But the interesting thing is, and if you remember, like Jeff brought this up sitting on the fire that night, right? I told him, I said, it is important and it is significant that Wyatt has to do this. And I just absolutely felt that in my spirit. Like God was telling me, like, Wyatt has to come through this right now. Like, you cannot let him back up. There's no way that he has to leave this cave except coming through this path right now. So that's when I went back, right? And I mean, it is when you are claustrophobic and you're in that situation and you got this thought of like, what if I get stuck? Because like, to understand the intensity of this, like every time that I go through there, also the thought crosses my mind like I could die doing this. You know, the environment is really, it's a dangerous environment. It's tight. Right. I mean, like the thought is like I could get stuck right now and, be just completely screwed. Like we're down in a hole in the middle of nowhere, Texas, on a huge ranch. Right. I mean, it's like there's no easy, quick help coming. Like something happens, the quickest help is going to be 90 minutes away. Right. Type thing. So there's this level of intensity, but like there was just like this certainty that you had to go through that. And like no matter what. So, I mean, it was literally like from my side, it was like, okay, how can I support Wyatt in this moment? Like, how can I coach him and support him and, help him get through this? And, it was like because I remember you were at a certain point and your feet were not on the ground. So you were like literally wedged between two rocks so tightly that gravity could not pull your body down. And that's when you exhale real big. You exhaled enough and relaxed where then your body actually slid down and your feet hit. So like if you're listening to this, you got to think about how tight your body needs to be wedged where gravity will not allow your body to slide down rock. And it's completely vertical. And then once your feet hit, you have to somehow get sideways, like on your side, head first kind of thing. And there's some jagged rocks. Like that's why we keep saying like just go slow, because we have had people in those situations where their adrenaline kicks in and they just go into this power mode where everything tenses up and they start forcing everything, where once they get through, their shirts are ripped, like they got cuts on themselves, and they have so much adrenaline they can't feel them injuring their own bodies in that situation, right? And and again, like there's just so many metaphors for like life and business, with this. And I think like that's why these experiences are so significant. But you had to relax, you had to trust and have faith that you were going to make it through and get through there. And it was awesome. And I said this that night, like we did a lot of fun stuff that trip, but like that moment of getting you through that cave was like the highlight of that entire trip. And it just brought such a sense of victory, I think, for everybody there, and to celebrate that moment with you. It was truly
For sure.
a beautiful, beautiful moment.
For sure. I mean, it will go down as a core memory, no doubt, and one that you had to be there to experience it. And so that brought us to the post-hike experience. And you mentioned, and I want to say this on the show, like there's something special around getting around fire and having fire to be part of the environment, right? Something just special about it that brings out something special in the conversation and the connection. And you posed the question to me that said something along the lines of, what does your life look like as a billionaire? If you reach this thing that you're reaching, like, what does it look like? It struck me as like, oh, well, it's really not that different than what it is now, right? I may have a house in the mountains and a house in Florida and fly private between the two, but like, that's really not what this is about. And I started to share with you the why behind the what, with helping foster kids and helping to build the good life for other people, especially those that are less fortunate, right? Those that are lower middle class, people that just need a little help. And with a little help, they can go so far. And you said, this is what I heard. You didn't say this, but this is what, so I guess God told me through those words. He said, why didn't you lead with that at the beginning, right? And man, in that moment, we really haven't had a chance to really digest this, but in that moment, looking back, it seems like such a foolish thing to lead with. I don't even know where it came from, right? So like and the reason I say that is because the clarity that has come is that it's so easy to get distracted and to get wrapped up into the false goal because of whatever distractions. You read an article, you see a conversation, you start to tell yourself a story that these are the metrics that matter. And you got to get in these environments, these conversations, these masterminds so that you can be reconciled, right? And brought back to the center, if you will, recalibrated. Because I've always known this mission is not new. It's not newly articulated. It's just, oh my God, how stupid am I to be so off track with what I tell people? Like, this is what I've been doing. I've got countless stories, but in this way, right, in this season of my life, for whatever reason, that's how I led. So I went back to the cabin and got on my iPad where I had been really working with AI and my journals to really articulate my mission so that I could share it with the world and attract the right people to come help me carry this mission out. And dude, I went back to the cabin and had to change all of it, right? Because so much of it was wrapped around these financial metrics and it really has nothing to do with that. And so I want you to share some of the words, and you've already said it so many times in your testimony and your story about the importance of a calling. So share with me again so that our listeners can hear the importance of hearing and knowing what your calling is and why that matters in achieving success.
So I'll go back to kind of your story, right? And this whole thing with the cave happened on the last day of the retreat. So there's already been a couple of days that we were doing some fun stuff, great conversations. Lots of great conversations around the fire. You had this like really big financial goal, right? And kind of being a billionaire came up a couple of times, right? And there's kind of like you hear somebody say like, I want to be a billionaire, and there's like zero energy around like buy-in on that. Like there's zero energy around like man, like I really want to help you become a billionaire, right? I mean, it's cool. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome. But the last night when you shared what you want to do, in opening, buying this property and opening it to, be an orphanage and be able to take care of like 20 kids that need a place. Like that's what like wraps people's hearts around it. And, that is what I think immediately everybody sitting around the fire that night was like, how can I help? How can I be a part of that? Like, who can I connect you to make that thing happen? And I think like that's the difference between a goal you have and a calling that you have, right? Same thing for me. Like, what if I went around and I said, remember like when God said, open the park, what if I went around and I said, hey guys, like I want to go buy a really big ranch. Hey, like I'm going to go buy and own a really big ranch. Like that's what I'm going to go, like nobody would care. There was no buy-in on that. But if I said, listen, I feel like I'm going to open this outdoor adventure park where people and families can come to be transformed and connected with each other and discover clarity about who they are and what's important to them in their life. And, just restore relationship and nourish their adventurous spirit and, just be a place of transformation. That's a calling. People can get behind that. And I think like that's, for me, first off, like, I believe that we all have a calling. I truly believe that, but like some people may not have maybe connected with maybe what their calling is, or I think a lot of people ignore their calling because sometimes your calling could be very different than what you're doing today. Sometimes it could feel very different. And sometimes it's also filled with risk. I can tell you, like, I have been around people where they were talking about something that I knew they're talking about their calling right now, but it feels risky to them and they're not willing to risk what they have put together, like life, job, security. They're so entrenched in the comfort of that. And there's this thing that's clearly a calling for them and it's not worth risking for them. Like they're like, I can't change what I'm doing. I can't risk what I'm doing. And I think, when you have a goal, obviously it's in alignment with what you want to do in some form or fashion. And it's a target that you believe when you hit that goal, something's going to unlock in your life. Maybe you believe it's joy or purpose or significance or whatever, right? Legacy, doesn't matter. A calling is something that once you grab onto a calling, then all of a sudden, even though there's risk, even though it's scary, even though you're going to have to learn things and may need to change things, you just feel a sense of like purpose, and you feel a sense of peace that you're on the right path. And that doesn't mean that it's always clear. Like there's going to be lots of places where it becomes fuzzy and you're like, what have I done? And am I doing the right thing? But I do believe that as long as you're following the path of your calling, that you will find affirmation regularly enough to keep you going down the right path. And that's what I've experienced in my life, right? And what that looks like is I believe God putting the right people in my life at the right time with whatever it is that I need at that time, whether I realize what I need or don't need. When you think about a calling, it's going to be something that's going to tug at your heart. And sometimes it's scary to talk to other people about. But as you talk to other people about it, it's going to start tugging at the hearts of the people that need to be involved in whatever it is that calling is. Because you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. You're going to need other people. And I truly think like that's the difference between a calling and a goal or, some arbitrary vision of what it is that you want in your life. Like there's just a deeper level of significance that really connects people to you at a deep level.
Man, that's so good. We haven't used the word faith or courage, but that's what we're talking about. For me, right, when we live by faith and courage, it's so powerful because it allows us to live. I'm going to go on a limb, make a bold statement. Like it allows us to live from our true purpose. And the joy from that is unimaginable. And yet to live by faith and courage, truly by the definition, is scary as hell. because the outcome is unpredictable. It's not guaranteed. It feels so risky. And that's why that was such a metaphor experience and breakthrough for me, because there is no way I could have went through there had I not submitted, or as Ron said, surrendered, and lived by faith and courage. Like, there was every reason in my head not to do it. There was every risk not to do it, right? I couldn't imagine Janae getting a call saying that, right, like, I'm not coming home. And what are my kids going to do? And worse, what if I don't die, I just get stuck there and I don't die? All the reasons, right? Like, preparing myself.
Good reasons. They're very, very valid reasons.
And logical, right? They're so logical, right? Like, preparing myself. Okay, well, how mentally tough am I? Can I go 12 hours without eating? Well, I've already done it once, so I can do it again. Maybe I can go 18 before somebody brings me food. Well, I'm going to have to shit and piss on myself. Oh, well, right? Like, this is where but none of that would have allowed me to go through there. None of that would allow me to take that last breath and exhale to then surrender, right? It was true faith, courage, that allowed such a magical experience to happen. And it really was magical, right? And then it unlocked our ability to have that conversation that right around that fire. Had that experience not happened, we might not have had that conversation. Had we not had the conversation, then all of this recalibration would not have happened, right? And then the impact that I get to go have on other people, and the progress that I've already made from that retreat, and the contacts that I've made, right, to advance my mission and my calling, it wouldn't be occurring. And so that's what I mean when I talk about the power that is unlocked whenever you live by faith and by courage. And it's scary as hell.
That's what faith is, right? Faith is taking an action when there's no guarantee of the right outcome happening.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
That's as it is, right? So, and I think, like, again, I think purpose is like one of these interesting things, because it's, we haven't really talked about the word passion at all. And I think, like, that's what people are always after, is like, I want to follow my passion. And you will discover your passion on the path of your purpose. So, and I think that you can really discover your passion in a lot of different ways, right? But and your purpose can maybe even look a little bit different, in different ways. But it's doing the thing where there are no guarantees, and doing the thing that you feel called to. And you have to get out of your head for that, right? Because it is, like, absolutely a heart issue, right? Your purpose is going to reside in your heart, and then at some point, you should be able to start understanding it and really articulating it with your head. But in many ways, it doesn't make sense. Like, you can't justify it, just like the cave, right? There's every reason. The correct thing to do is, like, not drop down in this tiny little hole in the cave under all of this dirt and powder canyon, and put your life at risk, right? Like that, like, mentally, the right checklist is get the heck out of here as fast as I can. And yeah, sometimes there's things that we have to do that just doesn't make sense mentally. And you truly have to listen to your heart, and you have to listen to your spirit, and you have to walk by faith and do something. And when you do that, and I do like this, this discovery that you had about that you surrender to your ego and your plan, and, like, whatever it is that you think that is about you, which, a lot of times, could be a selfish type thing, right? And if you realize that, by doing this, I'm going to end up somewhere, connected to people, doing things. And the coolest thing is, and then what I told you that night, is that if you continue to go down this path of doing the things that you're talking about doing tonight, right? When you were talking about the orphanage and doing those kind of things, and you lead with that, I said, I can see you becoming a billionaire when you lead with this, right? And I think, like, that is the thing, is that at a certain point, and this happened to me a few years ago, where I was very financial driven on, like, my net worth has to be this, and I have to be able to do this, and it's and it's just started dropping off for me the last couple of years, right? And it's like, I think, like, one of the things I love today is, like, I just want to do cool things with cool people, Like that's it.
Yeah.
And help walk out like, what I feel called to, what other people feel called to. And it just changes the way that life tends to happen, right? Because like you and I have both, we've both had coaches, we've both read a lot of books, we've gone to a ton of conferences. Like, we're around a lot of incredible human beings. Like, there's so many just incredible resources around us. And both of us could probably design the perfect schedule to optimize, everything in our lives to be the most effective human beings we could probably be. But yet, like, I have found like just such a deeper level of purpose and joy and success and everything else, like getting away from that a little bit and just really plugging into, what am I hearing, feeling in this moment that I can do to help other people that are around me and where they are. And it's changed the way that I do business as well, right? I'm a consultant and a trainer, and, working with companies today, it's like I invite that same level of just, can I be present in this moment and help this person with what they're going through, with what they're trying to accomplish, right? And it really changes everything when you change life in that manner.
I got to sort of, I'm recognizing the time as we kind of close out. It's a great sort of closure to really talk about just human connection. Mm-hmm. And really what I believe is the purpose of humanity anyway is to connect with other people, right? If we go back to the Trinity, there's God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so God as a whole is a relationship, right? The Father is to the Son, is to the Holy Spirit. It's a relationship, which is connection. And so when we create connection with other people, then everything else kind of fades away or falls in place, right? Mm-hmm. Everything else. So to avoid that and become more transactional, to just be about the numbers and the metrics, you kind of lose that wholeness of humanity, which is ultimately connection. So I think that's what we're kind of saying the same thing, which is what's so beautiful, and which is why I think there's such a great connection there. So Dirk, this has been great, man. How can people find out more about you, MERUS Adventure Park? What's the name of the website? If they want to book a trip, you do incredible. Your team, your staff, by the way, did just a knockout job. They created our landing page. They handled the registration. It was turnkey. All we had to do was pay our money and get to the airport. So kudos to y'all. Fantastic job. Things didn't go as planned, and you still had plan B and plan C, and it worked out even more epic of an adventure because of that. So for people that want to plan an experience, an adventure, whatever, where can they come to find more information about MERUS?
Yeah, merusadventure.com is our website. You can also Google MERUS Adventure, and you'll find us that way on Facebook and Instagram as well. And yeah, as far as MERUS goes, we love to create just incredible experiences for people, whether it's just you and your family wanting to come out, group of friends, corporate retreat, whatever the case may be.
And I want to talk about the multi-service mastery in a second, but as another plug for the event and just putting it out there, continuing to plant the seed for my own world, I'm planning a welcome to manhood experience for Baylor, my son, which, by the way, I just talked to some of his friends' parents last night. So I'm going to try to bring him and some of his best buddies with our dads, their dads, right? So it'll be a dad's father-son trip as they graduate high school before we send them off to college. And we're kind of looking at the month of June of next year. So I've got lots of ideas. I want to do a 3-night adventure there. It's going to be so epic. I've got lots of just ideas on what we're going to do. And really, it'll kind of be what we've already done. But we're going to bring some special guest speakers out there with us. And I fully hope that you're available to help us co-facilitate that.
That sounds
so. Yeah. So just as an example of what can be done at this place is really what I wanted to say to our listeners. So multi-service mastery, business coach, business consultant. Tell me who those customers are. So if they're listening and they want to learn more, how can they find out about what you're doing?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So the core of the consulting and training that we do is for service company owners. And what we found over the last 3-4 years of the work that we do with Bergflow, which is also one of my training companies, is that a lot of times in service company owners end up launching a new division, finding somebody else that wants to sell them a business, whatever it is. They end up owning 2, 3, 4 businesses, whatever the case may be. And so we launched a mastermind called Multi-Service Mastery that's specifically for business owners that have now found themselves running multiple divisions or having multiple companies, and also people that's their goal is to own multiple companies, multiple locations, these type of things. So we've got a mastermind now that's dedicated to those kind of business owners. And how do you build the systems and the processes, and how do you build the type of teams that could run multiple companies? And that's really what we focus on in that mastermind. And we actually just today wrapped up a mastermind with 14 business owners that were here for 4 days and really went deep on hot seat sessions and just what is important to them. So those are the kind of people we work with. We'd love to connect with anybody that has something that they want to see happen. And again, especially if there's, if you feel there's a purpose behind it, if you feel like it's really significant to you, then we'd love to chat with anybody about that.
And how do they find you in that space? Is that bergflow.com?
Yeah, so you can go to bergflow.com, BERGFLOW, bergflow.com, or you can also find us at multiservicemastery.com.
Awesome. Dirk, this has been awesome. I love spending time with you, and I'm looking forward to the next event that we have with GoBundance in the fall of 2025. I'm ready to get that thing open and people signed up for it and make it an annual event.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to do version 2.0 and get you back in the cave.
Listen, I have anxiety already. I just want you to know the minute that we rebooked it, I thought, holy cow, I'm going to have to go through that cave again. So I've got 8 months or 6 months to prepare myself to do it. But I'm well aware of that. Yeah, I'm well aware of what I've got to go back and face.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it, Wyatt. Thank you.
Hey guys, Wyatt Graves here. As you know from previous episodes of this show, I'm on a mission to grow a business that has 25,000 doors, a holding company of service-based businesses surrounded by a protective moat of a personal growth and development educational company. With that being said, I am looking for deals, I'm looking for talent, and I'm looking for capital. If you're interested in connecting with me, go to my website, wyattgraves.com. Send us a deal. I will be sure to include you in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're a real estate agent and you want to be my agent, you're welcome to be my agent if you bring the deal to me. If you're not my agent and you bring the deal to me, we will still get you paid somehow, some way. If you want to work inside of our world, then drop me a line, send me an email, connect with me. We're interested in attracting level 5 talent. And then finally, if you are an investor and want to invest your money, not only to get double-digit returns, but also to have real impact inside of the communities as we raise up the level of good life living throughout our properties with our residents, with our employees, with our communities, then I want to connect with you. Go to wyattgraves.com and fill out the contact information, and I will personally be in touch with you so that we can figure out how we can shake the trees together and win together. wyattgraves.com.